For an organization your size, what problem did you have that ISA was the solution?
When you're investing a lot of capital into lead generation, you want to make sure that you're protecting those opportunities. If we want our agents in their lane and doing what they do best at a really high level, we want them working with clients that are active. They're not the best at maintaining those relationships for the future. We believed in bringing on an ISA team that would nurture those relationships to get that future business, to make sure that we were getting that ROI.
If you were talking to someone that's in your same situation, they're the COO of a large team, and they're considering bringing in that ISA model, what would you say to someone like that?
There's no right or wrong way to run a real estate business. Are you looking to get 1 or 2 transactions out of every lead you invest in, or are you trying to get 3, 4, 7, a lifetime client?
Right, folks, we are back today, and I've got a great one for you. We have Camila Rivera here with us today. She is the COO of the Laurie Reader Team out of Florida. They do a great job there, run a great business out of Fort Lauderdale. And she's here to tell a little bit about her story with Power ISA. But first things first, Camila, let's get going. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into the business? And tell us about the Laurie Reader Team, and the role you play in there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Gustavo, for having me. I've actually just celebrated this past week on Monday, my 11 years in the business. And all those 11 years have been with the Laurie Reader Team.
So team agent. You're a single team agent. That's
single team agent.
Now single brokerage agents are hard to find, let alone like single team agent. That's crazy.
Absolutely. So it's been fun to be a part of the different markets, the highs, the lows, the evolving technology that we've had to use throughout the years and adapt to. And so we service the Tri-County area in South Florida, Palm Beach, Broward, Miami, and we're actually expanding into Orlando and Jacksonville over here in the next few weeks, which is really exciting.
That's awesome. So yes, you guys run a pretty big team, pretty large operation. So I guess the obvious question for me is, for an organization your size, that kind of scope, what problem did you have? What motivation did you have that ISA was the solution? What were you trying to solve for? What was the goal initially when you decided to hire ISAs?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're investing a lot of capital into lead generation, you want to make sure that you're protecting those opportunities. And we know that the sales cycle in real estate is pretty long, right? The people you're speaking to today, at least the self lead generation, right? I'm not talking about the Zillow, I'm talking about the different lead generation that you have control over, right, is a much longer sales cycle. And if we want our agents in their lane and doing what they do best at a really high level, we want them working with clients that are active, right, that are actively showing homes, that are ready to go on the market. And whether we love it or not, they're not the best at maintaining those relationships for the future. Right. And I see both sides of it from an agent standpoint, but we wanted to protect our investment. And so we believed in bringing on an ISA team that would nurture those relationships for the future, with not just new leads coming into the database, but also our past clients, right? That's a really big opportunity for us to get that future business and referrals. So that's why we said, well, it's time to make that investment, as the amount of lead flow that was coming into the organization month over month increased, to make sure that we were getting that ROI.
I love it, because you bring up such a good point. We ask agents to wear so many hats sometimes, right? The agent has to be, they got to be the salesperson, the closer, they've got to be the customer service rep, they've got to be the therapist sometimes, they've got to be, the firefighter, they've got to do all these things, and we want them also to be kind of the telemarketer and the nurturing specialist. So it's and some agents can pull that off. Most agents are going to fall short in a few of those areas. And I think, some of the large teams, the more professionally run teams, they don't try to fight against that. They don't complain about it. They don't hate the
Right.
agents about it because I've seen people take it the other direction, but they kind of recognize this is how this works. This isn't a problem to solve. This is a situation we have to handle. We have to manage. Given these constraints, how can we add a ton of value to the agents? And you're saying, agents, do what you do best, which is meet with
Yep.
clients. Like talk to clients, take appointments, take listings, take buyers, and work with those active clients, the ones that are the closest. That's where agents can really shine in that face-to-face environment, people that are ready to go. And the longer term piece, you're saying you guys help the agents with that part, right? Which is
Yep.
usually where they mess up. Like just
Yep.
making sure they have that pipeline, they're feeding that pipeline. They've got deals closing this month, next year, right? 6 months from now, the winter season, that you guys are kind of solving that problem for them so they can focus on what they do best, which is get in front of people, right?
Yeah.
And talk real estate and convert them. And that is such a huge value add, right? Because a lot of agents, they struggle with this. And I call this the roller coaster of income. They have a really great month or two. They didn't do any lead generation, any lead follow up, and then they're dry for the next month or two or three while they get that pipeline built back up. And that roller coaster, I think, just knocks so many people out of the business. It's too hard, too stressful to manage that. And I love what you're saying because you're like, hey, plug into our system. We hand off opportunities. We have qualified leads. I'm not sure, I want to talk more about that, how your system works, but you help them like stay in touch with and work with active buyers, active sellers, and you guys are helping them like nurture and follow up with folks, right?
Yep. And an active buyer and seller in our business is still about within 90 days of actually even getting into contract, right? So if you think about it, that starts to accumulate week over week. You get five new active clients, and the following week you get another seven. And in a 90-day period, that could become a lot of people that you're trying to maintain a relationship with while you're working on getting homes listed and get buyers into contract. So yeah, the sales cycle in our business is just much longer.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Especially and you're describing that inbound lead generation, method, right? So that takes a lot of capital up front, right? You know what I mean? That you have to spend the money, you got to bring in the leads, and that sales cycle, it can be 6 months out, it can be a year out, it can be 18 months out. But I don't know if you agree with this or not, Camilla. That is, if you have that kind of time frame, you have that kind of vision, online leads can be very profitable if you've got that conversion system in place, if you give it that amount of time. I agree with you. Zillow Flex, I mean, they can convert more. Those are I agree, those are harder leads. Those are not the most profitable leads. I think people kind of can
Right.
get tripped up with that, right? Zillow Flex will take, depending on the area, 40% top line of that
Yep.
commission, and then everyone, brokerage, team, expenses, everything has got to come out of the remaining chunk of that. So that can be even though it's a higher converting lead, you got to be careful. Got to really watch your
I
numbers
mean,
with that. So
there's a cost to providing the lowest funnel lead, right? They are handling the nurturing of that opportunity and passing it off, right? So that's why same as for us, right? When we're handling the nurturing of the company generated opportunities and handing it off to the agent, there's a cost to an agent, right? The
100%.
the hardest part about this business is generating a lead, generating an opportunity to transact with. And to your point, we see Zillow Flex as, yes, maybe you're not making a lot on the first and the second deal, but after 2 years, what are you doing with that database? Right? Do you have
Yes.
ISAs focusing on that database? Are you maintaining the relationship? Because if you're really buying leads to just do one or two transactions, like good luck, right?
Yeah.
But the ROI comes from the third and the fourth
Long term.
transaction long term. And if you're plan on being in this business for a long time, it's worth for you to make those types of investments.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more. And and I've been watching some of your content online, and I love that you really focus on. You guys are very tech focused, but you don't discard the part of that personal relationship, right? Like you focus a lot on building connection, letting your personality come through. At the end of the day, people want to work with people, and maybe they might not get to work with Laurie herself, but they work with Camila or someone on their team, and they should get to know that person and who that person is, and what they're about, because that's the person they're going to be working with. That's who they're going to build that relationship with. And if we build relationships, right, with these online leads, at the end they're people, then you have that opportunity to, like, hey, we're going to be your agent for the long term. Like, this is not going to be a transactional, piece of business. We want that, second generation deal, third generation deal, and then everyone, and then your friends and family. I think if we approach it that way, like, any lead source can be profitable, if and on a
Right.
long enough,
Absolutely.
a long enough time horizon. But you gotta make that emphasis on building that relationship, right? Like, and it starts from the top. I feel if you
No,
guys set that tone,
absolutely. One of
agents can
our core
execute.
values is being customer centric. And so you'll see, I mean, at this point, we've sold like well over 9,000 homes, and having the customer at the center of everything that we do is most important. You and I choose to do business with people we like, know, and trust. That's just it. If we don't like someone, we're not going to pay them and give them our money. But that's just not how us human beings make decisions, right? And so if you run a transactional business, you can't, it's hard to expect that repeat and referral business, right? But if you run a relationship focused business and you are having those personal conversations, the personal conversations is what keeps the retention with that client, right? When, of course, they see you as a professional, but they know that you're someone that they'd come to, that they feel comfortable speaking with, they enjoy talking to, then you can expect them to tell their friends and families the minute they close, right? Anytime I go to a service or I go to a good restaurant, I'm like, oh my God, you all have to go there, right? Because someone went above and beyond. It's the same when you deliver that experience in a real estate transaction. People are like, I had the most incredible agent help me find my dream home. It was such a seamless transaction. Like, you have to use them. And that's the goal with everyone that you're working with.
Yeah, I love that. And the same way with, like, with a restaurant, I love that analogy, because what's the best way to advertise? It's word of mouth, right? Like, a
Yeah.
word of mouth that's like 90% conversion rate, maybe higher, like at 90 that they're
Yeah.
actually going to go, versus, and again, you can advertise online, but nothing's going to beat that personal recommendation. Like, and if you can convert those online leads into a referral source, like making them a raving fan, that is the way, to profitability, right? To make these lead
Because
sources work.
they're already coming to you with so much trust because their
Yes.
friend or someone they like and know and trusts you. So that's already built in, right? You don't have to work as hard to build that up in the beginning.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So let's get back down to the tactics, though. You've got a ton of these, online leads coming in. You want to help from ISAs. Tell us a little bit. Let's look a little bit under the hood. Right? Tell us, how do your ISAs help that process of getting these opportunities in front of the agents so they can build and foster that relationship? What do the ISAs do for you guys?
Yeah. So they do a combination of a few things. They're inviting our past clients to future events. They're calling them during the holiday season, right? They're that touch point throughout the year. Hey, it's Laurie Reader Team. We're thinking of you. Just wanted to let you know we're hosting our annual toy drive. If you'd like to contribute XYZ, this is how you do so. What do you have planned for the holidays? Great. Wishing you a happy new year. Right. So they help maintain that past client relationship.
Love it.
They also focus on consumers that are active on our different websites that we have us believing that they're going to be ready to transact in the near future,
Got it.
right? So they are watching that online behavior and reaching out to those clients because we all know the journey begins online first. It's a thought and then people go online. They don't call their agent first, right? Because it's probably not till a year out. They're working on paying down credit cards or whatever it may be, waiting for a bonus. You never know. And so they try to start building that relationship with people that are starting to show behavior that is going to lead to a transaction in the future.
Got it.
So a lot of nurturing, right? And then they also handle the inbound of our company generated opportunities because we do service such a large area. We want to make sure that those opportunities are going to agents that are local experts in Miami and Broward or in West Palm Beach and Port St. Lucie, wherever it may be. So they help with that as well.
Okay, all right. So you got a lot covered there, right? Because like you said, with 9,000 transactions, you've got a database of past like thousands of people in that
Too
database. You
many
have
to keep up
thousands of yeah,
with.
like way too many. You want to give them a call during the holidays. If you were an agent, that would take you all year to call. I get that an hour here, an hour there. You'd call people for the holidays all year, right? If you're
Yeah.
calling people for an
Yeah.
hour a day, it's just impossible to do. So you've deployed ISAs to help you reach out to people, and you're handling people within your tech stack, like observing their behavior and looking for signals, right? That they might be thinking of
Yep.
buying or selling earlier. What kind of tech stack do you folks, out of curiosity, is it a CRM, IDX? What kind of system do you folks use?
Yeah, a few. Of course, we have a CRM. We also use Fellow. We're
Mm,
really big on seller lead generation.
love it.
And also IDX feeds, right? That we can
Gotcha.
see if people are active on the site.
I love it. I love it. And you drive traffic to those IDX properties as well. Like
Yeah,
I'm guessing like
absolutely.
Google pay per click, Meta,
Yeah,
different and
GLS, all the
oh,
stuff.
jealous.
Yep.
Love it. Love it. Oh,
Yep.
okay, great.
Yep.
And so you're generating, you've got people that are already there using these IDX websites, and you're also generating new traffic, like generating new leads, and the ISAs are helping with all of that.
Yep. Yep.
Awesome. And what is the ISA to agent handoff? What does that look like? Because like you said, you're trying to, take some work off of the agent's plate on that initial contact, that initial nurturing. What is it? When do they get handed off to an agent? Because that handoff is treacherous. Like that's not
Yep.
an easy thing to do, right? It can
Yep.
be, you don't want to hand off people that are too early in the process. Agents are going to get disinterested. You don't want to hand off people too late. They might already be working with somebody at that point. How do you handle that handoff to make sure that you're set up for success?
If they are willing to let us in their living room, we want to get face to face. I
Love it.
think I can't remember if it was Realtor or Zillow or one data research company released that like the first agent that gets face to face with the client has like a 60% higher
Yeah,
likelihood of
I,
winning the
I know it.
business.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know, don't quote me on the exact
Yeah,
percentage, but it was
it's
it was
NAR.
really high.
It came from NAR. It came from NAR,
Okay, from NAR. Okay.
I think that's the truest stat in real estate. Like it's not the
Yeah.
first one that calls them or texts them. No, no, no. The
Yeah.
first person they sit down with is a disproportionate, like highly chance of getting the business. Yeah,
Yep, yep. And so, as long as they are willing to meet us at a property, we will go there or let them in our living room. We will set the appointment because we believe that what people are telling us is the truth, right?
yes,
We just, because of course it's natural. Why would we think that someone is lying to us? And I don't think that they're necessarily intentionally lying to us, but why would we expect a stranger that we don't have a relationship with to tell us exactly where they are in their lives and what's
yeah.
happening that is causing them to buy or sell? So if we can get face to face, we have the opportunity to uncover really where they are in the journey. And so our goal is if they're willing to meet us in the living room, or if they're willing to meet us at a property, we go for the appointment.
I gotcha. And Camilla, I mean, what if they might be a few months out? I mean, there might be maybe it's like it's early. It doesn't matter if it's too early in the process. As long as they're willing to sit down with you folks, you'll be there.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get it perfect, like, right?
Yeah,
Because some people could say, "Hey, I'm ready to go." And then you meet them and then they realize they speak with a lender, they're like, I need 8 more months to get my situation in a place where I'm going to be more comfortable. So you have to be willing to get in front of them to really know where they stand. And so that's just what we happen to go with, right? I'm sure other
yeah,
teams have more qualifying questions, but because we know that the person that gets belly to belly with them has a much
yeah.
higher conversion likelihood to convert them into a client. That's our policy,
I love
right?
it.
Now, sometimes if the client is really far out, right, and they just want a market analysis and they're waiting for a life event like 12 plus months out, we have the ISA continue to follow up with them.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Oh, perfect.
Yep.
So it's a tandem. So if in case they're like really, really far out, the ISA can continue helping the agent because agents are not great with those year plus agents are not great with 6 month out leads. Sometimes not even 90 days, let's be honest. But with those 6 month out, 12-month out, it's like it goes into no man's land, right? They're gonna go, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I'll check in with them whenever I check in with them. They'll put a task out there. They might, and if they're not clearing out their tasks every day, forget about it. It's just not going to get done. And I love that you handed back off to the ISA for that long term nurture, but you got in front of them, right?
Yeah.
The statistics are on your side, right? Math is
Yeah.
on your side. If you guys are the first people to get in front of them, I think you're going to win that. And now it's your lead to lose at that point, right? It's your customer to
Right.
lose, and just got to make sure that you guys continue to check in. I love that. So you've got these ISAs deployed. They're trying to fill in that gap, that long term nurture, that follow up process for agents. What have been the results you guys have seen from having ISAs help you guys out, kind of bridge that gap, or the results of the project of having ISAs helping you folks out?
Well, I think we have a much we've been able to get in front of more consumers a lot sooner, right? I also think that our answer rate is much higher than it would be if all of our inbound opportunities were going to our agents that are out in the field every single day meeting with clients, right? And while, I think speed to lead is important as well, especially in today's world, right?
Yes.
People are busy. People are very busy. If there's one thing we all could agree on is we all need more time. And so you want to be able to catch people when they have that moment to have a conversation with you.
Yes.
And so speed to lead, and also making sure that, a percentage of our business every single year is coming from long-term nurtures. That's how we know we're doing the right thing. If all of our business is coming from leads generated that year, we know we're losing a lot of money, leaving a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
money in the table.
Tons.
I think the CEO of Fellow Ryan says 5% of your database transacts every single year. Like, how much are you capturing of that 5%?
I love it.
And those are the leads that maybe aren't ready to buy today, but if you're willing to put in the time and energy to build that relationship, it has a long-term reward.
I love it. I love it. That's great because I think that's the way you should look at it, right? Like and Fellow as a product and Ryan as a leader, I just love what they do because the killer feature that I see from Fellow is that report you get every month of who in your database sold their home. That is
Oh, it's painful. It's
Yeah,
painful,
it could be the worst or the best, a piece of
but
again,
it's
it's just so
good.
powerful.
Accountability.
It's
Yeah.
so powerful, right? Saying, hey, this is what's up for grabs in every single month. How much did you capture of that? And usually
Yeah.
it's not a happy number. Whatever number it is, I haven't seen anyone that's happy when they see that email, but
No,
it's but
no.
it's but it, but it's it just puts the opportunity so in front of you. Like the opportunity is
Yeah.
right there, right? And the best teams get motivated by that. Some of them get crushed, but they want to get as much of that pie as they can because those people are already in your database. You've already paid to acquire those leads. Like make sure you're doing the best you can with them, right? So I
Yeah,
absolutely love that.
absolutely.
And Camilla, so you run a very large organization. You guys are all over the place in South Florida, and you're expanding to other parts of the state. If you were talking to someone that's in your same situation, they're the operations manager, they're the COO of a large team, and they're considering, bringing in that ISA model, they're going back and forth. Maybe they've tried other companies, hasn't really worked out. What would you say to them if they're kind of on the fence, saying, I'm not sure if this can really work? What would you say to someone that's kind of pondering this decision? Should I deploy ISAs, virtual ISAs? Oh my goodness, there's a lot of potential, pitfalls. What would you say to someone like that?
Yeah. So I get this question often, and I think that there's no right or wrong way to run a real estate business, right?
Uh,
You have to be super clear about what you're working towards, right? And also whether you're going to run a transactional business or a relational business. One is not better than the other. It just depends on your preference, right? And what works for you. And I think what's also important is if someone's looking to invest in an ISA team is, are your splits in line to support that? Because it's a
oh,
massive investment, right?
yes.
So are your splits in line to support having an inside sales team?
Yes, yes, 100%.
And when it comes to virtual or remote, I think that the pandemic really taught us that if you hire the right people, they can work from anywhere, right? If you hire the right people that are accountable, that want to do a good job, that are responsible, they will figure out the environment that makes them the most productive. They don't need to count on an employer to do that. Now, for some people, they know that remote work doesn't work for them. And so they choose to work at organizations where they go into the office, right? And so that if you don't have that option, that most likely that person won't be a fit for you. What's actually worked out really well for us is that we're in a state where large population speak Spanish, right?
Oh, there you go. True.
Um,
South Florida.
so specifically in working with Power ISA, it's been very beneficial to have bilingual inside sales agents.
True. True. 100%. I
So
love that.
that's worked out really well for us. And I also think is you have to ask yourself, like, are you looking to get 1 or 2 transactions out of every lead you invest in, or are you trying to get 3, 4, 7, a lifetime client?
Yep.
That would be my biggest question.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, it's a choice. I think some agents don't realize that, right? That this is something you make better decisions if you're thinking about that long-term vision. I think you behave differently. I think you hire differently. I think you build different systems if you're thinking about being that realtor for life at scale. Because I think agents struggle with that when they're a solo agent. I think taking that same kind of approach at scale and building a team around that, I think is it's a phenomenal idea. It's not easy to do, I'm sure, but that's the right approach if you actually want to be in this business in the long haul and not be obligated to, like you said, always every year you have to repurchase the entire business again. You're starting from zero, right? If you can only close what you hunt that year, you're always starting at zero, and it's hard to grow and it's hard to scale. So I absolutely love what you guys are doing, Camila, over there. I think it's a great job, and I appreciate your time. Thank you for jumping in, and providing this information for folks. I think it'll be super useful. Kind of seeing that journey, right? Like going from problem space to solution, right, and kind of seeing it through. So thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Hope it was beneficial.